Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lewis.
Welcome to the Rangers Journey.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Rangers Journal News Show. It's Friday the 6th of March. If you're anything like me, you have had done nothing to do with football this whole week because I've been so scunnered after last week's result that I've hardly looked at anything. This is the news show. Thankfully, I've not missed out on a lot of news because there's really not much happened. With no midweek football, then there's not a lot really going on. Anyway, I'm joined by two great guests today. Regular co-host. Bob, I'll come to you first, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Same as yourself, Billy. There's not been much going on other than the aftermath of last Sunday and the prospect of trying to look forward to this Sunday coming. So yeah, looking forward to having a short chat. We'll have a chat about it and see how we go.
and semi-regular guest now at this point, Frankie. You've joined us a couple of news shows on a Friday. Facebook sensation, Frankie. How are you, mate?
I'm all right, sunburn. Like we're talking off air, it's 34 degrees here, so had to suffer that all day, but it's been like that all week. It's getting hot now. I'll use the news. So
tell us about your top. You were telling us about your local team. What's that team you're wearing just now?
Oh, aye. Ray Young FC. Like the city's called Ray Young, but then there's the province. It's a capital. So it's not the top league in Thailand's called the First Division. So they're a yo-yo club usually, but they're mid-table now and they're doing all right. So Ray Young FC. I'll go along there. What is it? What I told you? It's £3, £2. 120 baht again, which is just shy of £3. Yeah, it's good. And what I like about going to it is there's no pressure. I want them to win, but I don't lose any sleep. So I probably enjoy it more than watching Rangers, if you know what I mean, because you're not like that. Ugh. But the standard of football is, it's all right. It's all right.
Fair dues, mate. Well, thanks for the update on that. An expat like yourself, you've not signed up for any flights home, have you?
No, I live here, man. Nah. I know it's I've seen the prices. Somebody sent me a prices, man. It's kind of ridiculous what they're charging to fly home, But it's a shame for the people though. Like one of the lads down the local, he comes out 6 months on, 6 months off out here, and he's flying home through Dubai in a couple of weeks. And I think he's kind of what will be.
Well, you can tell that I'm trying to not talk about the football, Bob. So let's come back to you, Bob. So, what press conferences today? The usual kind of sound bites from Danny Rule. We've trained all week. We're going to we've learned the lessons of what went wrong last week. We're going to not do the same this weekend. But the main thing I took from the press conference today was the full squad is in training. Yeah. Now, that's very, very unique for this time of the season, isn't it, Bob?
Yeah, it is. I mean, considering the last few seasons we've been beset by multiple injuries, so to hear that he's got a full complement of first team players back is good news. I think over the last week or so we've been discussing the absence of Connor Barron, so the fact that he's back in full training for however long, whether it's been the full week or otherwise, is obviously positive news. So, personally, I do think we've missed him in the middle of the park. It'll be interesting to see if he gets any game time on Sunday afternoon.
Frankie, with Connor Barron, I think we've done a pod on him in the last couple of weeks, that how unique his position is for us and how we are missing him at the moment. Despite coming back from injury, would you be inclined to be throwing him back into the starting lineup on Sunday?
No, I'd start with the same team and start this Sunday. I say I would swap Suter out for Deja, but I would start the same team and say do that again. I know it's not that simple, but we need, because it was kind of, listen, at the weekend, let's be honest, we were out-thought by the wily old fox and Martin O'Neill, but no, I wouldn't. No, I would certainly have him on the bench, but then again, we don't know, he'll be raring to go. So it's the one thing I like about Danny is you can't second guess him at times, and that's right. I wouldn't start him. No, there's the answer.
Fair enough. Frankie, as regards the squad, I mean, Cornelius, I guess, would be involved in that training as well. I did see some pictures a couple of weeks ago that he was back on the grass at least. He's a player that I think, you kind of say we've missed because I've not seen that much of him really, but when he hasn't been in the team, I feel he was probably one of our best centre-halves, if not the best centre-half.
Yeah, I would sign him if we could, because what we've seen, and he can dribble a bit, he can play football. I mean, I know that's a kind of daft thing to say, but there's a bit of dribbling there, and he's a great dead ball expert as well, wasn't he? That was the other thing, and he was a natural leader. I've never really worked out. Have we got the option to buy him?
I believe so, Frank. I think it was an
Aye.
option, same with an option to buy. Yeah.
I'd certainly buy him because I can play it. He's left. He's more left-sided
Left-sided,
centre half in it, and could play left back. And the thing is, you don't get old-fashioned left backs anymore. They've all got to be able to go up and down that wing. But I would certainly buy him. You know, because what we've seen, I thought this is a good player, and again, a natural leader.
That's something, Bob, we were kind of missing in the second half last week. As leaders, someone to step up, take the game to scruff of neck, and get her back in the ascendancy. The only thing I would say about Old Firm games in the last wee while, at least since we came back up, they do seem to go that way, where one team is particularly dominant in the first half, usually it's Celtic, to be honest with you, and then team in the second half comes out and there's it's a complete flip. But we really need to balance that and stem that when it comes to, if we do manage to get off to a good start again like we did on Sunday there this week, we can't have them coming back into it. This could possibly go extra time if that happens again. And again, going into penalties, I would have Jack Butland. I'm glad we've got Jack Butland basically, but I mean, where do you see this game coming up at the weekend? Is it just rinse and repeat from last week? I think Frankie said they start the same team. I'm not so sure myself. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the difficulty is you've got to look at that second half, Billy, and say that we never really had an answer for it. As Roll alluded to in his press conference earlier on, for 50 minutes we dominated them, but then I'm like, but we had another 40 minutes where we didn't. And that's where you need to really look to address it through this last week's training, because I'm pretty sure the other side of the city will not start the way they did last Sunday. I'm pretty sure they'll probably start the way they finished it. So, to go with the 4-2-2-2, I don't think he'll do that at the start on Sunday. I think he'll probably go the 4-2-3-1, which he's been kind of playing in most other games. I know that potentially leaves Chimity up front on his own, but then it really depends on who you put in, who you put in behind them. So yeah, I think it's a tough one this week. I know, as you said, we probably lacked that leadership second half just for game management purposes to kind of see the game out. Cornelius again was good, having been played in the early part of the season. I think he's only really played a couple of games under Rowe before he get that kind of long-term injury. So again, same as Barron, does he come in and play a part of it in the second half? I'd probably agree with Frankie and say I'd probably put Giga in, because again, I feel as if Giga, since he's come back from the Cup of Nations, has actually been decent when he's played. He's not been anywhere near as frightful as he was beforehand. Calamitous, yeah. Beforehand, so for me, it'd be him and Fernandez this Sunday. I don't really have a lot to say against Suter. I just feel like just those couple of mistakes on Sundays kind of went against him, just in terms of positioning, and maybe just needs taking out the team for a week or so just to let him get back reset and come back in towards the end of the season. So yeah, I certainly think Diamandi will start on Sunday, just considering he has Roll alluded to, and he's trained well this week. So again, it could be a three of him, Chitwani and Raskin, and then obviously a kind of front three with possibly Moore. Maybe Scott Wilson. I know there's been a lot of debate around his form in the last week or two, but I think for me, you look at it and go, provided this is for Chimity for the Hearts goal, one of the Hearts goals, and then obviously last week he set up the superlative overhead kick. So he may not be showing it for 90 minutes, but he's obviously got a flash of quality in him that's obviously been proved decisive over the last few games that he's been involved in. So, but yeah, I agree, Billy. It's certainly going to be a lot tougher on Sunday, especially with the increased away support as well.
Frankie, you meant, I'm not going to mention it on here, but you mentioned your age before the pod started, so you're not actually And actually, I don't know. Bob's maybe similar ages to myself. I'm a wee bit younger than you, but I do remember back in the 90s there was a 2-week game where we played Celtic 2 times at Celtic Park, wasn't it? 1 week in the cup, 1 week in the league, and we were very dominant at the time, but we lost both those games. I don't know if you remember that game or those
I was
games.
at both of them. Everyone
Really?
gets sent off. We get sent off because the second, I think there was 2 in the first game, and I remember Celtic had the red cards for the second game. Then we get sent off with it. I was at both of them, man. That was a sore one. The problem with the weekend game there is the game just gone. It's not to wind out ourselves. If we'd won that last week, this is a different podcast, a completely different podcast, a different attitude, a different feeling. But it's just, I've been trying to get up for it, and the nerves are there. But it's not like the nerves I had last week when it was positive nerves, if there's such a thing. But now it's the scary nerves, because this could be season defining. You know, it is nervous. Like, I'm nervous about this one.
Well, let me ask you about this comment that came up, because you said we were outfoxed by a wily or outdone by a wily old fox, but this year we ran out of steam last week. Do you agree with that more? Because got cards on the table. One of my best mates, one of them. So it's difficult having conversations with him after these games. But he said that it was Martin O'Neill's. He felt it was Martin O'Neill's changes, substitutions, and tactics that made the difference. But was it just a case of us giving it too much in the first half and then running out of steam? Do you think?
People have been saying that, but they're supposed to last 90 minutes. But was it not? Because I remember the commentator saying it looked like Chimiti was coming off after. I seem to remember looking at the clock. It was 67 minutes, and he didn't come off because I think he was signalling towards the bench. But I think it's a bit of both. But we did look a bit knackered and void of ideas as well. There was a bit of. I'm not saying it was what's his name, the manager before, the clown with the haircut. It wasn't they were like that to the bench, but it just seemed we didn't know what to do. Like Bob alluded to, the game management wasn't that good at the weekend. It was like, come on. But I would start 2 up front on Sunday. Sorry, I know Bob said 1, but I would have the 2 strikers up front because it seems to work.
No, I was going to disagree but say that I would probably prefer Bob the 2 up front as well. Mainly because in these games, up until a point at least, that has worked for us. The 2 strikers. So what would be your thinking, Bob? Why we would go down to 1?
I think just to increase the midfield. I think we all saw the form that Hatate came into in that second half when he was brought on. I know he's not been great for them for the majority of the season, as has Maeda. He's barely shown anything. I fully suspect they'll start with Maeda up top and Hatate in the middle with McGregor, because they had more of a hold on the second half of that game last Sunday. So I'm just trying to counter that. I think if we go 4-2-2-2, I agree. That's the tough thing, between yourself and Frankie. I kind of want 2 strikers up top, but does he then go a 3-5-2? Which then I would have a bit of a concern about who your wing backs would be, if that's going to be Romans and Sterling. Does Sterling play 90 minutes at wing back? I don't know. Just to give the midfield that extra 1 or 2, and going forward, that's maybe the only other way that he can address it. But then, who's your 3 centre backs? Are you going to keep? You're probably going to keep Fernandes in, probably Suter, and possibly Giga. That's or Cornelius. Does Cornelius come back in and get 60 minutes, depending on how we go? If he plays left centre back. Again, I've seen a lot of I've seen Chris's comment there about Ant-Man on the left and Moore on the right. I mean, again, just back to what Frankie said, I think our game management second half wasn't great. I also don't think the manager got the subs right. I don't think he put enough on, because we did look leggy. From being in the stadium, you could just tell Nadiri's race was on. Chermiti was struggling towards the end, especially once he was isolated when Nadiri went off. So you're really looking at, if he's got a full complement of players, you really will need to utilise as many proper first team players as you possibly can. And that brings us back into that, the debate of, does Cornelius get some game time? Does Barron get game time? Miovski's, is he out of favour? Is he going to be able to add something in if we need to keep 2 strikers up top? Because, again, I was listening back to the press conference this morning whether or not Nadiri can play for a full 90 is still up for debate. Same with Scott Olsen. The fact that he brought Olsen off and put Gassama on the right, I think everyone in the stadium was a bit shocked because Gassama has just been absolutely awful on the right hand side.
Yeah.
For me, he's certainly got a lot to think about coming into the game. And just back to your original question, Billy, I certainly, my heart wants two strikers up top. I think Nadiri and Chermiti seem to have a good relationship. It's just how he then sets the rest of the team up. Does he go 3-5-2 to accommodate that? Or does he remain bold and go 4-2-2 and risk losing the midfield battle, which again I think will probably be pivotal in this game, especially being a cup game. It'll be an interesting choice that he makes on Sunday afternoon.
Frankie, let me bring up this comment, and I don't know if you can see how clear you can see it on the screen.
Aye, got it.
That certainly plays out with a few things I've seen from Danny Rule. Quite often, it's a good second half. Actually, he's good at making changes when things aren't going right. But what I do have a concern about with him is his game management when we're in the ascendancy or we're up.
No, but the thing is, I was at a charity thing recently, and there was quite a few Sheffield Wednesday fans there, and they all loved him, and they loved Gassama as well. But one of the lads said he can throw a curveball at you, but I never quite worked out what that meant from the guy. But I get it probably is that. But again, it's what we've seen. It is first half and the second half. He just needs it. The only game we did it, Hearts, we did it. We just need to do what we did to Hearts. And Ibrox needs to play its part in Saturday as well. That was terrible, the second half, what the fans were doing.
Fair enough. Let me bring back the thought of well, you're mentioning the fans, so let me stay on that actually. They're going to have the full room loan, which is back to the old days. Frankie, what do you think I've got to say, coming to Old Firm games when they used to have that, it was loud from their side of things actually. And a run-of-the-mill league game, they were a lot louder than us, despite only having that one stand. How do we get up for this game after being so kind of dejected after last week that the fans actually do make a difference, because we're going to have less of us there and they'll be loud as well. They'll be emboldened after last weekend.
Do your Rangers fans need to do their job. There isn't a fan in that stadium that doesn't know what we need. You look at the big European nights, the big Celtic games. I've had the hairs in the back of the neck. You can feel Ibrox breathing when it's going. And you listen. Who was it the other week? There was a podcast. It was Durante and with Big Tam. They do. It was not this week's, the one before. And Barry and the thing is, both said, see, when Ibrox is full like that, it is a 12th man. He says the lift it gives you is unbelievable. Listen to Ian Gerrard. Listen to Barry Ferguson. They, two absolute Ibrox legends. And the main one with them two is the Rangers fans. So they know what Ibrox can be like. And he says it's like an adrenaline shot or 27 Red Bulls up your down the neck. So Rangers fans, listen to that. Don't go on the players' back. Because you do their job. Because Derek McKinnon said, didn't he? He said to the Hearts players before the game, listen, you do the right job, the stadium will get on top of them. Every single manager must say that to their teams when they come to Ibrox. You annoy them, the fans will do their job for us. That's a terrible thing. I don't like saying this, but it's a fact.
Bob, Frankie's got me wondering how he consumes Red Bull the way he started that sentence a second ago. But we'll go back to
I had to watch what I was saying. I had to change that very quickly.
It's going to be a bit different for players having that amount of Celtic fans at the game, isn't it? I mean, how do you think our players are going to react to that's a bigger crowd than they'll be used to any team bringing to Ibrox?
Yeah, no, I agree. I just going back to last week, I did feel that, being in the Copeland End, as I've said before, and we've discussed this off air, Billy, as well, it's, when Celtic got that first goal last week, the air was just as Frankie said, the air got sucked out of the stadium. You just felt it go flat. You could see the singing section doing everything in its power to try and get the rest of the crowd lifted once Celtic had scored that first goal. And you could just feel the fear, but you could feel the tension build, because we were so ready for the equaliser, which inevitably came. So to me, it would certainly be something I would be saying to the players is that although they've got a bigger away support coming, just keep them silent. Just go and do your job. If you do your job well enough, then you'll not hear them, because you never heard them for 50 minutes last week, and that was probably the biggest away support we've seen, out with Europe this season. And I'm like, whether or not they get the full Broomlin or not, if you do your job, you'll keep them quiet and send them away, as we hope, with a tail between their legs, which is easier said than done, as I know, Billy. But to me, I certainly, if we can, start the way we started last week, and build upon it, and not just sit back once think the game's won it at 2-0. This team can't afford to score 2 goals and sit back. We need to go and get a third and a fourth, because there's certainly, we've all said it throughout the season since Rose come in, the defensive frailties are there for everyone to see. So I certainly don't think we can. I'm sure he alluded to it in the press conference earlier on as well. He said, I think they've only conceded 16 goals all season or something like that, but the 8 of them have been in the last 5-6 games. And I'm like, well, you've conceded 2 goals in the last 3 games directly. So to me, I really want to see that trend stop on Sunday. But again, it depends on how he puts it at the back line. But yeah, I really hope we can keep that away support as quiet as we possibly can. And just as you and Frankie touched on, the fact that they got a positive result on Wednesday, they were singing about they couldn't wait to come to Ibrox on Sunday. And I'm like, well, we need to just ram it back down their throat and hope they go away with their with their voices intact, because they've not had a chance to sing, because we've done our job so well.
But like, can I see the chat there? Can I just address this with Staunchy says, and he's a great guy. He's on my comment. That's a problem. That's a problem. Just do your job on the pitch. No, it's your job off the pitch to raise them. Imagine those players on the pitch. Your 12-year-old son. You're not going to scream and shout at him when he's a bad pass back. You get behind him, go on, you go, son. I'm not having a go at Staunchy, but that is the problem. People expect the team to give us inspiration. No, you inspire the team. That's what we need.
It's a bit symbiotic, isn't it? It's a bit of both.
I don't know what that word means.
The fans respond to what we're seeing on the park, obviously, and as much as I don't want to get in the players' back for a bad back pass, because we've been on their back most of the game. What I did want to touch on, Frank, is what do you think in this team particularly? We've seen it against Motherwell. We can't defend the lead. We've seen it the weekend. We can't defend the lead. We have to be on the front foot. What is it they're doing wrong when they try to sit back? And is it just defensive errors, or is it more detailed than that?
It's the level of the player we've got. That's what it is. The players are not good enough. It's as simple as that. You've got to remember, this is still basically the team that Martin brought in, and that other guy, although I think he's a bit vindicated the right word for Termiti. You know what I mean? But I know. We've still got to remember, these players shouldn't be at Rangers, some of them, especially the back door. What's his name? The defender who we were just talking about, Suter. Apparently he was only about £3,000 a week. There's a reason for that. That's his level. I know I said a new contract is probably more than that, but that's the level. I think we've got to remember the players. I was going to say shite. They're not good enough. That's what it is. We need to go the next level up. People always throw about they're not Rangers standard. Rangers standard for me is the way you operate, as in they don't stay off the front pages and work hard. Because we can't get Brian Laudrup's, David Cooper's, Alan McCoy's, Gorham's. There's none of them under 50 million quid at that level in this day and age. It's the players just aren't good enough, Billy, and it's quite harsh to say that, but I think that's what it just boils down to. That is a level of player we've got right now.
So, Bob, looking forward to this game. I'm not going to say it's our only chance of silverware, but we've put ourselves in a not a great position. We were on the ascendancy with the last couple of months, and after the midweek result, we still find ourselves a point behind in third place. And they were going through an awful time. Thought the season was over. To be honest with you, it's one goal away from maybe being that way if we just had either kept a goal out or scored. Maybe Fernandez has scored that one that went by the post. But this is a cup game, so it's a different mindset. We do want to win this trophy. Again, it's not our only chance, but it certainly puts us on a good footing if we can knock them out at this stage. We're playing them at Ibrox. We don't have to worry about going to Hampden. we've got the fans there, and the medically we still have the advantage over them with the fans there. I just see, how do you see this game playing out? Is it going to be a different game, or the way it's played is what I mean by because it's a cup game rather than being a league game?
I think it'll be tough regardless, Billy. I think we've got a kind of good feeling of how, from last week's game, of how things will likely go. As I said, they'll certainly not set up the same way that they did at the start of the game. It's more likely they'll set up the way that they ended the game. So we need to combat that from the start. And Danny Rowe needs to figure out what's the best team to break through those lines. I do think there might be a slightly different mentality because it's not the league, and they know that there's still, a couple of games before the international break. Now you've got the post. I was going to say post season. Sound American, isn't that? The post fixtures. And again, I think there's still a lot. I mean, there's 9 games to play in the league. There's still a lot of points to play for. The cup, as you say, it's a one-off. For me, I really hope we get a positive result on Sunday. It's going to be a lot tougher at start, I think, than it was last week. I think the first 25 minutes we were all in shock of how well we started. Again, as Roll alluded to, we dominate them for 50 minutes. We really need to see a 90-minute performance from them. I think 45 minutes is not going to be enough, especially if we go down the road of extra time and penalties. We certainly need to keep a high degree of control on the game. Just as you say, we are at home. We do have the majority of the fans. You'll have 3 full sides of Ibrox, for the team. You just need to keep that other one side completely silent, and it just that's the mentality the players need to see. Is that this is a case of going to the semi-final. I'm not sure who else is in the quarters at the moment, but again, the remaining teams are unlikely to be as strong as the team that we're going to be playing against on Sunday. So, there's certainly a good chance if we make it through Sunday's game that we can at least get ourselves to the final, and put ourselves in a good chance of ending the season with silverware. At this stage, there's still a league and cup double to play for. I certainly don't want to be looking at just one trophy after, come 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. But yeah, it'll be a tougher game, I think, Billy, than last week. I think the momentum was going in with us last Sunday. I think the momentum will probably be with the other side of the city based off of that result and midweek game. We just need to get ourselves up for it from the first whistle.
Frankie, if they do start that squad, that team they finish with, do we start then targeting players? I mean, Hatate's not had a great season. That's one of the things that's been his game of the season, I think. Do we put men on their players? The way that we did with McGregor at some points? Do we think more about them, basically? Is that what I'm saying? Just to make sure we get through that first 25 minutes or so?
I say, you stifle McGregor, and that's them. They struggle a bit. I'm going to be honest, Billy. I don't know a lot about their players because I never watched them apart from we play them. I'm not bitter. No, it's not just that. It's just football.
I'm just not interested.
Aye. But I mean, McGregor, and the annoying thing about McGregor, he's a diehard Rangers fan, and all that's the annoying thing. His old man's got a season in the main stand. But anyway, if you stifle McGregor, like we did in the first half the other week, last weekend there, they struggle a little bit, but coming forward, any time they go forward, the Japanese lad, he scares the pants off me all the time, and he has done since he's came to us. I know it's a difficult one to answer. I mean, there's a cliche of we think about our own game. You can't do that in this day and age, and especially with a progressive, a forward-thinking manager like Danny Rowe. He's probably watched loads of their video of them all week, thinking, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do this. But it's just, I mean, everything Bob said, I totally agree with it. It's all about a full 90 minutes. If we can do what we did against Hearts, we're winning that game 3. Celtic will score at the weekend, there's no doubt about that. And like Big Doug just said there, underdogs working in our favourite side, because they like you said, the pendulum swung. If we'd won last week, we're getting here strong favourites, but we're no. And like I say, you'll see in your socials as well, the confidence isn't there as much. But it's a hard one. Just put them off
One
the
thing
park.
I'd say, Frankie, is it never seems to go. I know Firm never seems to go the way that the team with momentum never seems to. At least it's never a cakewalk. Even in the times when we had your Brian Laudrups or Paul Gascoigne's, and you thought you were going to steamroll them, it never really. It very rarely works out to be that kind of game. That it's so much invested in both sides of the teams. Of like both players are sets of players are the way that teams come in against us as regards to every game's a cup final. I'm not saying it's exactly the same for us, but this is our biggest rival. So most of the time, it never works out the way we think it's going to be before the game. But it never works out that we steamroller them when we're in the ascendancy. Never really works out that they thrash us. Maybe, and even the times when we were not down the leagues but first coming back up. And remember that Clint Hill equaliser? We were expecting to get pummeled in that game, and we ended up coming out with a draw. So what I'm saying is, we can't predict. I think at the moment the way it's going to go. Bob, I think he needs to use the subs a lot more and a lot earlier than he did at the weekend. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I agree, Billy. I think I'm sure the WhatsApp group will love me for this, but I do think that the likes of Bajrami needs to come in. I feel as if you look back at even last season's League Cup final, he did such a good marking job on McGregor. It's difficult for me. I think Bajrami is actually a really good player. I think he's probably just struggled to get into this team. I don't know whether or not it's just through attitude on the training park or the manager just doesn't fancy him. But he's the type of player for me, as we've kind of touched on, a kind of experienced head. He knows, he's been here for 2 years. He kind of knows inside out what these games are like. He's also got an eye for a pass. I think we seem to forget, earlier on in the season, he brought us back from a Joe's defeat with a draw against Dundee United, that penalty in the last minute. He's got something like that in his locker that we could potentially use in the second half of games that we're just not seeing. And I understand the manager might not favour him, but likes of him, Ant-Man, using his pace second half when we're tiring and they're tiring. We need to keep that pace. That it's going to be a high tempo game, regardless. It's going to be blood and thunder. Like so many old firms in the past, I certainly think if we, going back to what Roll said, if we've got a full complement or a full squad in training, I honestly think we have we should have a better bench than them this Sunday. I can understand there might be circumstances that dictated that we didn't have a stronger bench last week, but this coming Sunday, if we've got a full complement of players to choose from, our bench should be far stronger than theirs, and we need to utilise that. So the likes of Bajrami, Ant-Man, Gassama, playing on his better side with the left side, utilising the subs needs to be, far better and far more impactful this weekend than it was last week. I just don't think he got them right, and I think it was too late in the game last week when he made the subs. And again, I just don't think he got it right. So hopefully he's learned from that and he can use that getting into this weekend's game.
Who are your impact players, Frankie? Who would you say are game changers if they're to come on?
If he's playing well as Gassama, he can play well, but I think he's the thing in the abuse criticism. Gassama's getting on. He's just going in a dip. Every player does it, especially wingers. Wingers are temperamental. I'm picking him out as a winger, and then Barron. If Barron comes back and doesn't start, that's an impact player at this stage. Ant-Man as well. He had a hard start to his career, and I think Billy and Bob, I've said this a few times. See, when he was injured, I think it was maybe there was a bit of homesickness or something. He just didn't quite fit into Glasgow. Maybe I don't know if he's got a wife and kids. I don't think they quite fitted in. So I think Rangers just let him fit into the city a bit more, and maybe that's why he's come onto the game. And you saw it, he's a bit unorthodox because that feet work's a bit weird looking, but it works. So if Ant-Man and Gassama are playing well, they're extremely good impact players.
No, I agree with that, and it's an interesting one with saying Connor Barron could be an impact player. Certainly shoring thing up. He's very good at retrieving the ball and winning possession back, and that could be something that if we are ahead, that Rule could use as part of his kind of not sitting in, but with defending the league kind of tactic that he does favour, and I don't think that's just going to be taken out of him after one or two games. There's a comment there about 7,500 of them coming. It's going to be loud. Are you wishing you were going to be there, Frankie?
Oh, aye, man. I know 90% will disagree with this. I would give them it back anyway. It's brilliant, man. Because for years, I was in the Govan or the Sandy Yard in front. I was about halfway up and I was in line with the 18-yard line. So I used to love it. But when you lose, it's not easy. I'll tell you a quick story. There was once you're that hyped up for the game. DeCanny was through in goals and I was that hyped to shout, shoot. You know what I mean? Just because you were that hyped up about, I was fucking hell, man. But I'd give them it back. But it's brilliant. That's what you want, man. And like I said, the Rangers fans need to do their job. Ibrox needs to do its job on Saturday. And I hope Sunday, should I say, hopefully it will. But of course you want to be. That's what you love football for, the noise. Because some of the games, and I remember one game we were at Ibrox and we could see two guys from Trinidad when you were two Celtic fans, and they saw us, and it was And one of the best games, Old Hampden was brilliant. When it was standing right at the segregation fence, man, that used to be absolutely bedlam. Like, it was brilliant. Like, you needed an umbrella, like, but for certain reasons. But it was good. That's what you want football for. You want to hear that noise.
No, man. I like. I was never at Hampden. I had one opportunity to go, and my mum pulled the plug at the last minute because she was too scared of me to go to an Old Firm game at Ibrox back in those days. And it wasn't long after Hillsborough, so I think she used that as an excuse for it. But hey ho, I never got to go. I think the only time I was at a cup final, it was Dunfermline against Hibs, where Hibs I think ran out 3-0, and it was a very boring, wet game, and not quite the same atmosphere as an Old Firm game. So I do wish I'd experienced some of them. Certainly, it's not the same at New Hampden, is it, Frankie?
No, you were a metre away from them. That's how far you were. You were less than a metre, and the cops let you do. I better watch what I'm saying, but the police weren't as strong-handed back then, shall we say? I'll leave it at that. You can work out what that means, but yeah, because the last one I was at was when Paul Elliott scored first. Remember, Bobby? He went right down low, and Goff scored the winner. And there's actually, I don't like saying this, but there's a bit where it looks from section J. The Rangers end up towards the Celtic end, and they're singing. Can you hear the Rangers singing? It is quite. You see them all bouncing, and then we end up. I think it was 2-1. Done, but you can see I'm actually on that at the segregation fence. But after that game, your mum was probably right. I'll leave it at that.
Well, Bob, we hope to get 25 minutes out of this because, as I say, it's a bit of a slow news week when it comes to news. But there is a big game at the weekend. We do have a post-match. We do have a pre-match before the game. So we'll give a final, or the guys on that pod will give the kind of score predictions. But Bob, what's your gut feeling for how we're going to come out of this game? Can you imagine a penalty shootout in front of the Broomloan?
I hope it doesn't go that far. I'm kind of I'm hoping it's we come out winners by the odd goal. Certainly within regulation time. I say regulation loosely because I'm sure there will be stoppages and VAR checks aplenty, considering the way last week went. So, yeah, I'm hoping that we do it by the odd goal. I really hope we don't go into extra time and penalties. I think if we do, the momentum may shift. And just as Frankie says. Yeah, I think to go back to the beautiful Belgian Mr. Clement, the synergy between the fans and the players needs to be on point on Sunday, and I think that if we score first, then that will be a massive shot in the arm. I think that's the only way that we kind of make it through the game. If it does go into extra time and penalties, I think if they score first, then it's going to be it could be a very long afternoon for us. I certainly hope, based off last week, that if they do inevitably equalise, as kind of Frankie touched on, that we don't go silent and we don't let that Broomloan stand be heard. I think we just need to push as best we can. It's two-sided. The players are doing everything they can in the park to get the result that we want, and the fans need to not only reflect that, but give the players impetus from the word go, from the moment they step out to do the warm up, right through to the very final whistle. So, to finally answer your question, I think we'll win by the odd goal, hopefully within 90 minutes.
Now, Frankie, before I say goodbye to yourself, and what I'm going to do is just give a shout out to your sponsors, because you gave me the trouble last time for not bringing them up before this point in the pod, and I've done the same thing again.
I can't remember being on. I was hammered.
No, well, there you go, fair enough.
No, it wasn't that bad, but it was vague. I was like, God, I was concentrate. I had a post on there saying, "Concentrate, don't interrupt."
Yeah. Well, look, we are sponsored by the Bluebells Pub in Puerto del Carmen. If you are over in Lanzarote or you're planning a holiday over to Lanzarote, do check them out. They are the only Rangers bar in Puerto del Carmen. Certainly somewhere I'm now thinking about planning my holiday for the summer to go over there and check them out, because they've been very good sponsors to us. You can chill, eat, party, drink, do whatever. Sit outside by the beach or be inside watching the Rangers games on the TVs. They do show all the Rangers games plus much more on the TVs there as well. And if you do go in, tell Kenny that we sent you here from the Rangers Journal. Frankie, can you let people know where they can see more of you?
What's my page? Rangers Now it's called. There's a few, and I think I've just got to 60,000 a day, or 59, I can't mind, one of the two. And I've got a sponsor as well next week. I'll tell you off air about that one. But yeah, that's it. Just Rangers Now, and I can't make the Frankie Gers. That's my YouTube. That's the one I wouldn't mind getting numbers up, because I think I'm at 1,800 and something. So it'd be good to get up in that, because my numbers are on Facebook. Just go the same as yourselves. They climb every day. Like I'm about 100 a day or something like that. There we go.
Frankie, those are rookie numbers. You need to bump those numbers, to quote a famous movie. But thank you very much. I know.
No problem. It's enjoyable as always.
Give me your thoughts on how you think we're going to come out on Sunday night. Are we going to do this in regulation time? Is it going to be heart attack street?
Well, the heart attacks are between now and then as well. I think something we forgot. They had the game during the week as well. I didn't watch it. I don't know how much it took out of them. So that's as well. I feel if Celtic score first we'll lose, because Martin O'Neill know how to manage. Martin O'Neill's game management will be good. He's with Walter Smith. Like you were talking about earlier, how the games back in the day were only you couldn't predict them, as in nobody would dominate. That's because Walter knew how to play them. He would just let them attack our game, counter, and we'd go them as well. That which mattered. But I've got to say we're going to win in 90. We'll win in 90.
Fair enough. In my time following Rangers, I've had Chris Woods, Andy Gorham, Stefan Kloss. So we've had. They won
us all those those trophies. If we didn't have them, we didn't get 9 in a row and all those trophies. Period.
Al McGregor as well. I forgot about Al McGregor. But I've grown up with some, and to be fair, even Batteris was a good goalkeeper. But anyway, Bob, thank you very much for being on the pod today. Thank you everyone for commenting at the side and for listening. Again, join us pre-match for the build-up on Sunday before the game. I think it's 11:45. Please join us in that pod. So thank you everyone for watching, and remember, every night is Rangers Journal night. See you.